Hey guys, I wanted to share with you this new Prima watercolor confection set that I just got. And this is kind of, I would say it's called Odyssey. And if you're familiar with the Prima sets, they have all kinds of palettes. I have a couple of reviews on my channel, and I get a lot of questions about, you know, what type of watercolors to buy. And I think the Prima are a good option, but if you're just starting out and you want to get the Prima set, I would suggest getting the classics or tropicals. And what I did, I got the classics and tropicals and made from it kind of my own custom palette. So for example, I took out the white because I don't use a white. The classics comes with a white. So even though the box here says the classics, you only get 12 in each Prima palette, and this has a selection from both the tropicals and the classics set. And that would be my recommendation if you just starting out and you want to get a set. So that would be the most versatile. This, and then Prima has a bunch of other sets that are just more limited. So it's fun if you want to try different color palettes. And this one I would say is very autumnal. There are a lot of like browns and like reds and purples, and yeah, so it's more of a limited palette. Now I haven't seen how these perform, so this is how it comes. It comes in this cute little tin. There's this swatch card, which is made of some horrible paper that, you know, watercolors shouldn't be used on, but it can give you an idea. And this is how they look in the box, all cute and packed. So I think I will swatch them. And I also wanted to show you a couple more things that I got. So the super incredible, talented James Burke, if you don't follow him on YouTube, you really should. It's just such talent. And yeah, so he was clever enough to come up with a few products. So he has a few stamp sets and a few washi tapes. This is by no means sponsored or anything. I saw that he was offering these and I just jumped on the opportunity to get my hands on them, and I'm super happy to support a fellow YouTuber artist. I really think, you know, he seems to me like the person, if he sets his mind to doing the whole art thing full-time, then I think really the sky's the limit. I mean, just so talented, it's ridiculous. So he has a few washi tapes, and of course he shows all these goodies on his channel. So I got the washi tapes and the stamp sets. I think there are 4. They sold out and I only managed to get this one for now, but I pre-ordered the other sets. And I actually don't use a lot of such stamps because I usually like draw my own images, but I really wanted to support him. So of course these are gorgeous, so I'm gonna challenge myself to use them because they are gorgeous and his style is fantastic, and I really wish him all the best. So I just wanted to show you, and he was also sweet enough to send me a couple of these tags. So yeah, I could play with these also. And one last thing, was it one last thing? So I got a couple of stencils that were really calling my name. So this one is, I ordered mine from Donna Downey's store. It's in the US, and well, you'll see 2 of them are just exclusive to her, and I don't know if other stores offer it, but this one is by Stencil Girl. I bought it at Donna Downey's store, but there, I think you can buy them in a bunch of other places. So this one is called, what is this called? I don't know how it's called, but Sorry, just trying to get it open. I don't know the name of this. It's designed by Tracy Bautista, and it's this really cool kind of floral that you can see. And you also get the outside part. So this like punches out if you're careful. Be careful. Use probably scissors so you don't ruin this. So I'm gonna use scissors and separate it, but you can separate it. And it's just one of these types of stencils that I really like to use, you know, something very general. The other two that I got, so I got this one from Sylvia. I can't pronounce her last name, I'm sorry, but she's super talented and she's on YouTube. And this one's called Magic, I think, and I just thought it was adorable. And then this one is by Donna Downey, I think, and it is called Floral in Stripes Vase. Sorry, so it's turned. So it's like this. And I actually played with this a little bit, but I'm not sure I will show you just now. I think it might be in a future class. So this is a few things I got recently, and I think I'll just try to play around with them and see what happens. So I decided to play in my Jane Davenport art journal. This is her large one, and it has really lovely watercolor paper. It's kind of a cream shade, so not super white paper, just an FYI. And I was also inspired to use my new stamps there and kind of play around with the stamps and swatch my watercolors. So yeah, I have in my watercolor workbook class, I have a whole section dedicated to swatching because I think it's a really basic step that is also fun when you get a new set of watercolors. And yeah, so this is, I actually also use there in one of the lessons, in one of the ways that I show, I also use stamps, but this was a combination of, you know, also inspiration by James's stuff. He did some amazing videos of swatching some different watercolors, and he mostly, I think, just illustrated his images. But since I had these stamps, I decided to play with them, and they stamp wonderfully straight out of the box. A couple of places that I didn't get the perfect impression, it was only on the left side of my journal, where there's already a lot of pages that are slightly warped from all the watercolors, and so you have to kind of work at it to get a nice impression. And that's one of the reasons that I don't use stamps all that often in my art journal, because sometimes it gets a little bit you know, difficult to get a good impression. And it doesn't really matter if you're going for a messy look or if you're using stamps that are more for texture or something like that, but if you want a lot of detail, then it can get sometimes a little bit challenging. But as you can see, this worked really well. I think maybe a couple of spots didn't stamp properly, but it was totally not the stamp's fault. You see that on the right side where the pages are new and untouched, everything stamped perfectly. So just playing around, I had no idea what I was doing. I just started with stamping 3 times each stamp, and sorry, I'm just, yeah, never mind. It's getting a bit cold outside, and there are all kinds of like ladybugs and stuff that want to escape into our warm indoors. Anyway, the ink that I used to stamp is of course waterproof ink, and you want to use that for something like this, where you know you're going to add lots of watercolors and all that stuff. Otherwise you risk having a huge mess. So make sure if you're stamping that you use waterproof ink. And the fun thing about this one is that it's also it's almost like a resist. I don't know, it was just really easy to stay in the lines. And yeah, I don't know, maybe I imagined that, but it was just really fun. So let's talk a little bit about this Prima Odyssey set. I'll start with the pros. So the pros are that most of the colors here are very saturated and intense, and I do like the way that the Prima colors flow. You'll see a bit later in the video where I start to get a little bit more loose and add more water. They really have a nice flow to them, and they activate really, really easily. You know, with some watercolors, you need kind of to work at it to get them like really juicy, not with the Prima ones. But yeah, so that's in general, I would say, for pretty much all of the Prima watercolor sets. And this set in particular, the colors are very saturated, and I think you get a lot of play. You know, because they are so saturated, you can really play with the saturation level and get also lots of beautiful paler shades if you add a lot of water. The tin is cute, the price is okay. You know, in the US I would wait for this to like use a coupon or something like that, because I think the full price of these is quite steep, and I think with time the price kind of drops. I know that the first sets that they came out with, like the classics and the tropics, you can get them I think for like $15 or something around that on Amazon, and I think this one is like the newer sets are probably double that. So make sure you search for a good deal, because I think full price is a little bit steep for this. And now the cons. So my biggest two cons I have with this set. First of all, I really don't get why, with so many colors in the world, why would you put a few colors that are so similar to each other in one set? I just don't get that. Like the first two pinks are very, very, very similar. They are not identical, but they are really similar. And then there are like these three browns that, okay, again, not identical, but very, very similar. So this is my first con for this set. And, you know, even with the whole concept of like having a limited color palette, it's just, I think it's a little bit of a waste. You know, I'm sure there are, I could find, if Prima needs some advice about their color palettes, I'm happy to help, because I am pretty confident I could find a selection of 12 colors that would be more varied. So that's one con. The second con that I have is if you have the other Prima sets, and by the other Prima sets I mean the classic set, the tropical set, and then maybe also the Decadent Pies set, you probably have colors that are very, very similar to about 10 of the colors in this set. So I kind of tested them and compared them to the other sets that I have, because I wanted to know if there are any repeats. I would say I didn't put this on camera because I actually did this after this video was already kind of edited, but just not narrated. And with the exception of two colors, which are the fourth color, top row, fourth color from the left, that very deep orange, that is a beautiful color. And then on the bottom row, the one next to the white, which is this lovely kind of a bit of muted violet color. So these I would say are pretty unique, but all of the other colors I found colors that were extremely similar or very easy to mix from the other Prima sets, the other three that I mentioned. And most of them were in the combination of the classics and the tropicals, which is the combination that I suggest if you're set on getting Prima watercolors and you want to have the most versatile palette. So Yeah, that's, I think the nice thing about like having such a set is that it kind of challenges you to use a limited color palette, and that's fun. And I also, at some point, I started like also mixing the colors, and I was really enjoying myself. These little tins are very enjoyable, don't get me wrong. And as I said, the colors are very intense, as you can see, very easy to use, all that stuff. But yeah, if you have the other sets, I can't really say that, that you should get this one unless those two colors that I mentioned. I tried to mix them from the other palettes that I have. I tried to mix something similar, and I didn't come up with like a really close match, but also I didn't spend a lot of time trying. So yeah, if you're on a budget, then stick to the other sets that I mentioned. But if you're really, you love these colors, then by all means, they're beautiful, they're saturated. Yeah, what can I say? I'm a little bit disappointed with their color choices and with kind of recycling colors that are very, very similar to ones they had in previous sets. And so back to this whole process, I also decided to add some of the gorgeous washi tape. It's just beautiful, so pretty. I love the artwork on it. And it's one of those things, I have my share of washi tape, and somehow I don't use it a lot in my art journal. And yeah, I really should. Maybe I would feel more comfortable using it in my little A5 insert. The thing is also, now when I make stuff in my art journal, the large one, I want to keep the option open of scanning it and then uploading it to the website that I'm using now to have all kinds of like real products with my art on them. So I'm using Redbubble, and you can't do that if you're using other people's products. So for example, I can't scan this page here and use it to sell, I don't know, like tote bags or something like that, because this is not my art. The stamps are not my stamps, and the washi is not my washi. So yeah, that's probably why I tend to keep things very simple in my art journal, meaning I don't use a lot of products. Also, the same goes for like stencils and stuff like that. You can't sell anything as your own when you use someone else's products. So obviously this is not really relevant for most of the stuff that I do, because I pick very, very few pieces are deemed worthy to be printed. And I talk about this on one of my recent chat videos, and I also show a few things that I got with my art on them, and that's very exciting. And I'm hoping to upload a few more pieces to Redbubble. Yeah, and this is soon over. So this was a lot of fun, such a great way to play with new products. So I hope you feel inspired to do the same. I'm so excited for James for having these gorgeous new products, and I wish you a lovely day.